Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. As you can tell by the name of the channel, my name is Shane and I'm a health and fitness coach based in Waterford City in Ireland. I'm about 5 months into my very first structured and coached gaining phase. Yes, I have put on muscle and I have lost a heap of fat over the years, but I'd never done so in a structured way. Now, if you're like me, you probably like yourself when you're absolutely shredded. And if you're also like me, you've probably been trying to be less fat for many, many years. So by trying to be less fat for so long, I never actually pushed myself to push up my body weight, pack on muscle, and add a little bit of body fat. So I'm currently 5 months into that now at the moment. Yes, it's getting very uncomfortable. Clothes aren't fitting as well. People might see me and think, Jesus, that fitness coach is after getting fat. But I promise you, it's all intentional. No, but seriously, I am after putting on a nice bit of muscle, small bit of body fat, nothing that we can't take off again in the future. And the idea of this gaining phase is to put on enough muscle that will make my next photo shoot look much different. And that's the idea. I don't want to go and do another photo shoot if I'm going to look the exact same. The process is going to be pointless. So the main idea of this video is to show you all my lower body day of this gaining phase prep. The first exercise you saw there was the glute drive. Now, I'm not driving or thrusting this exercise. If you use those words sensibly, to drive and to thrust is to use momentum. I'm essentially what the fitness industry and maybe a few select coaches have coined the CAS glute bridge, named after Coach Kasim Hansen, who's very much into biomechanics and exercise creation. So for the sake of argument, we're going to call it the CAS glute bridge. Now, I had 200 kilos on there. My previous best from last week was 12 reps. I got 12 and then maybe a shady 13, but as you can see, I didn't fail. I got to the top and locked it in. I actually do this glute bridge first when I kind of want to actually start doing it last, but my exercise mechanics brain doesn't want me to do a shortened exercise, a shortened glute exercise after I do a lengthened glute exercise, because we are weaker in the shortened phase and we're stronger in the lengthened phase. So usually first you tire out the shortened phase with an exercise and you still have energy left to train in the lengthened position. It's 1 o'clock, sun is shining, I'm wearing a jumper, probably not the greatest outfit choice, sweat is bucking it out of me, but I've done the most awkward exercise first. Because even though it trains the glutes in the shortened position, I still have 200 kilos on it wrapped around my waist, and it is quite intensive and intense. Because we are weaker in the shortened position and the exercise is hardest in the shortened position when the hips are raised, it can zap a bit of energy out of you. But thankfully, that's out of the way now. Let's crack on with the rest of the workout. Sorry, just to add, the reason I'm doing the CAS glute bridge instead of the hip thrust or the glute drive is because I'm trying to limit momentum in the exercise. I'm trying to keep constant tension on my glute muscles, and I'm working within probably 70 to 80% range of motion. And the visual difference in this exercise is when you're at the bottom, you'll still have more or less a vertical shin. Whereas if you're doing a hip thrust, your knee drops back, and then when you use momentum, you get back up to the top. So there you have it, the seated leg curl on the second exercise. The reason I have it second instead of first, and the reason I don't have the glute drive first instead of last, is because if these things don't follow a sequence, usually one can take away from the other. So if I trained a lengthened glute exercise first, I may not have the same strength in the shortened position than I do when I use the glute drive first. But if you know on the glute drive, at the very top, the hamstring is involved in stabilizing the hip and knee at full hip extension. So you're kind of getting this tiny bit of hamstring with the glute drive. So if I do the hamstring curl first, I might not be able to stabilize and get to the very top on the glute drive. But because the glute drive has a small amount of hamstring stability at the top, the seated leg curl is not overly affected when I'm training the hamstring in the lengthened position. Now you might be asking, didn't he just say he has a coach? Did his coach not write this program? No, actually, I played a big role in putting this program together, and my coach gave it the thumbs up. He said, plow on. So with the seated leg curl, I got 11 reps last week, and I got 13 today. So maybe the next day, I'll increase it by a tiny amount. This particular Cybex Eagle, Cybex version 1 machine doesn't have any micro adjustments to go up a plate. So you either jump from 115 pounds up to 130 pounds, or I go and find 2 kilogram blocks, which is roughly 2 pounds each, place them evenly on both sides of the machine, and then I'll do 119 pounds until I get between maybe 12 and 15 reps, and then I'll make the big jump to 130 and probably get around 6 to 8 reps at that. Next up in the program are the exercises that I get kind of most nervous about, and they are the quad exercises. I have 2 sets of heels elevated Smith machine squats. I have 2 sets of Bulgarian split squats each side, and I have 1 all-out set, probably around 15 to 20 reps of a leg extension. Now, if you're watching this video, I don't train to all-out failure, as in I cannot move my muscle anymore. I kind of try to train between 1 and 0 reps in reserve, and I don't push out too many, at least, lengthened partial exercises. These exercises are great for the end of a program when you're trying to eke out the last of your gains. But for now, I need to keep my battery as high as possible. I don't need to be depleting it with lengthened partials so that my hamstrings won't budge an inch. And then I try to go over and get underneath a squat, and the hamstring trying to stabilize you on the way down in the squat, and your legs go from under you. So obviously you hardcore gym goers, this video may be not for you. I'm 37 now. I'm a father of a 1-year-old who hasn't slept in about a year, and I'm looking to have a longer training career. I don't want to be injured. I don't have time, money, or the resources to be injured. And I've been fine training the way I have been all this time. Next up, Smith machine squats. I will So there was the heels elevated Smith machine squats. Now last week I got 6 reps. This week I think I got 8 reps. I might have miscounted. I'll have to watch the footage back after this, but we'll say 7 or 8 reps because on the second set I got 7 reps. So I'm going to think I got 8 on the first one. Now there's 102.5 kilos on that bar. And I know you're no fool, so if you're watching it, you could see that I was lowering down and stopping on the safety rails. The reason I've been doing that is something I've mentioned in my Instagram. And if you don't follow me, go and follow me now. But it's basically where I said, I've changed my mind on one particular thing as of late. I used to follow a lot of these full ROM guys, your Mike Israetels, your Jared Feathers, and all those guys in that kind of group. And when I don't particularly like them personally, I used to get a lot of value from their information. But at 37, being underslept, and I've only got into this fitness game at the age of 29, having lived an awful unhealthy lifestyle beforehand, my joints just couldn't take the wear and tear. So yes, using the heels elevated board can allow me to squat ass to grass. But what I was finding was that my knees were fucking giving me a lot of jip, and they were grinding at the bottom. But if you listen to all these guys, full ROM, mate, keep going full ROM until you end up having to get a knee replacement or a hip replacement or an elbow replacement. So always be sure to take a lot of this advice with a pinch of salt, even my own, because it might not suit your body. But there we go, a set of 8 at 102.5 kilos and a set of 7 on the second set. Next week, I'm probably not going to increase the weight. I'm going to try tidy up that form for the 8 and try get 8 on my second set. And that's how I will progress that 102.5. Just because I got 8 here, I didn't quite feel it satisfactory where I could put my stamp of approval on it and say, you know what, that was pristine. If a fucking camera crew, which there was on me at that moment in time, would they think that that was the most beautiful thing they ever seen in their whole entire life? This set, probably not. But the beauty of having the glute drive in the program at the start of the exercise gives your whole that ability to get up out of the bottom and drive into hip extension, which is on this to straighten up. So if your quads aren't quite feeling it, you always have your backside to help you out. Not always ideal when we're deliberately trying to train quads, and that's why I'm going to try tidy up the form next week instead of increasing the weight or increasing the reps. Because when weight goes up, injury increase can go up as well. So there you have it, the Bulgarian split squats. Now, just up until last week, I've been doing the split squats single-handed, and I've been doing them stabilized. So one hand on another surface to stop me from wobbling, and one hand on the dumbbell. Now, over the course of however many weeks, I got to the top dumbbell we have here in the gym, which is 40 kilos. It's the heaviest dumbbell we have here. And I done 2 sets of 12 pristinely. So I came in last week and I was like, right, how do I make this harder without putting a safety squat bar on my back? And I said, what I'll hold 2 dumbbells. Now the reason I was doing them stabilized is because one of my hips isn't as stable as the other one. So I always start off with the weaker side first and then match the score with my stronger side. Now there is a train of thought that says match your strongest side with your weakest side by continually doing rest pause reps after you fail, right? But that doesn't wash with me because there's a reason why that muscle won't give out as much power. And it's due to stabilization, that it doesn't feel stable, it feels under threat, so it won't give you what you need it to do. So I always follow the thing was match your weakest side effort with your strongest side and bring up the weakest side and take from it what you can get from it. Don't push it past with rest pause reps because, as I said to you before, there's a reason that your hip doesn't want to give the muscle the power because it feels under threat or weak, that it could potentially damage itself. So that's my train of thought there. And in between each leg, I rest about 60 to 90 seconds because this exercise is called unilateral, but at the same time, you do work both sides because where one leg at the back is stretching, the other leg on the front is stretching and shortening, stretching and shortening. So essentially you incur a little bit of general fatigue from the exercise in general, and then specific fatigue in the active muscle and fatigue in the passive muscle at the back. So I do feel it's important to rest between each leg if you want to get the same amount of performance out of each side. Now I have to look back over these. That set didn't really feel like my greatest set again. I probably am too heavy for unstabilized split squats. Now I can see that, but I'll have to be able to see it on video first. But I was doing 40 kilos perfectly, 2 sets of 12. But as soon as I took the stability out of it, I actually tried to increase weight, which is progressive overload. But last week, obviously, my reps came down to 8 on the first set, 7 on the second set, and today I got 9 and 9. But I'll have to look over them, because if they're not good, I'm better off starting the stabilized version by doing them properly and then take the weight. Because if I take the weight too early, what's going to happen is I'm going to plateau, or worse, I could get injured, and I'm going to have to strip the weight back down or stop training completely. So you have to know when to push, you have to know when to pull, you have to know when to bend or break the rules, but you have to first know the rules. I know the rules, I just have to watch myself back over, because it didn't quite feel right, and if it didn't feel right, it probably didn't look right. But until I review it, I'll make that decision. So is that a step backwards? It is a slight step backwards if I have to pull down the weight, but it's only a step backwards, so I can keep going forward. I have about another 6 or 7 weeks of gaining. So 6 or 7 weeks probably this program. Split squats are probably going to stay in it in some way, shape or form anyway. So I may as well think long term. And that's something I don't think many of you are doing with your diet or your programs. You program hop every 4 weeks. You are in and out of your diet, or you think in this 8-week mindset. I have 8 weeks till X, I have 8 weeks till Y. Crash diet, which yes, will produce a great result, but only if you can maintain it. So always think longer term. I'll be gaining for probably 6 or 7 months, and it's only because I want to do another photo shoot before Christmas. If I didn't, I'd probably continually gain for probably over the year. So next up, leg extension. Woo! So there's the leg extension. To extend means to straighten. So on this exercise, you really do want to be emphasizing a straight shin or knee, or well, a straight shin, knee and thigh, because that's where the maximum benefit of this exercise comes in. Leg extension is one of those unique exercises with there's that, or particularly one other exercise that trains the rectus femoris, which is one of your quad muscles, in the shortened range. So it makes sense to emphasize the shortened range when you're doing the exercise. Now, because I have the weight light enough that I can get 15 to 20 reps, and I have one set, I don't mind extending that set past a few straight leg efforts, which is kind of called a lengthened partial. That's most of my quads done. I do have adductors now, which they're not quad muscles, but they're in the same region, and they are involved in the squat, the Smith squat and the split squats. But it makes sense for me to do them after all my quad work, so that the stabilization that I need from the abductors and adductor are not needed. So with the adduction, ADD, and if you think of it, ADD means to add, you're adding your knees to center line, which means you're adducting. And then the opposite to adducting is abducting, which means if you're not going in the way, you're going out the way. So I'm doing ADD adduction for 2 sets, and I have deficit ab mat sit-ups for 2 sets in a superset. And if you don't know what a superset is 2 exercises back to back. They can be separated by a rest period or not. And they're definitely separated by a rest period after you finish both of them. Oh. Oh. So there you have the adductors and the deficit ab mat sit-up. I didn't have the ab mat sit-up in my program until last week. And because my abs are clearly my most weaker muscle group, I just thought it's easy for me not to train them because I'm not good at them or not strong at them. But it makes sense for me to actually train them because the next time I do a photo shoot, I'm going to want to see drastic changes. And if I don't train what I'm weakest at, that's going to be sticking out like a sore thumb to the camera, to all you guys. So I needed to stop being soft, program in the ab mat sit-ups, have cable crunches on me upper body day, and just try drive up the reps on the ab mat sit-up and come down the stack on the cable crunch. And hopefully the next time I do my photo shoot, I'll have some more ab definition than I didn't have last time out. Now with the adductors are a good exercise where that when it gets tough and you start involuntary slowing down, which is what you need to be seeking when you're training for muscle gain, muscle retention. You need to be looking for involuntary slowdown. So the difference between involuntary and voluntary slowdown is that you're willfully slowing down if you're voluntary slowing down. But involuntary slowdown you have no control over whatsoever. You could be trying to move that weight at 100 miles an hour, but it's only going 5 miles an hour. That's what involuntary slowdown is. And my rep speed slowed down there on the last rep, and I missed touching the thigh pads together by about that much, but I came in with a tiny little spot with my hands on the outside of my legs, and I helped my adductors finish off that last rep, and that's what you've seen there. So I have one more exercise left. It is the calf press. You might be asking, what is a calf press? It's basically a calf raise done on a leg press machine. And the reason why is for loadability. It's very easy to load up the leg press machine. You can just keep putting up pins, and you have a big massive stack to play with. And you have quite a lot of stability with the leg press machine also. So one more exercise left, calf press. Well, there you have it, the calf press. What you actually seen there was my second set, not my first, because I forgot to actually press record for my first set. So with the calf press, what you're trying to do is push the plate away from you, which are calf obviously, but you're using your toes to push away. But what you're trying to do then is get your instep and drive it up through the ceiling. That gives you that kind of extra little bit at the top, and to fully contract that calf. Lower down slowly under tension, and it's always fine to spend a little bit more time in the deep stretch position on a calf press or on a calf raise, because the calves respond well to stretch more so than the shorten, but both are very beneficial. That's why at the end of that set you see me hanging there for about 5 to 10 seconds just to generate a lot more tension in my quads after I've finished going through the concentric portion, which is the portion I can actually get to the top on. So that's it. I want to thank you very much for watching my first YouTube video of my gaining phase. It's not my very first YouTube video actually. If you've tuned in before, I was actually trying to document me training strength and conditioning and running to run an ultra marathon, but it just didn't quite work out for me. I was getting too many niggles injuries, and it was nearly causing me to stop coming to work because I couldn't demonstrate certain exercises because my leg was injured after each and every run. So I kind of knocked that on the head, used it as a sign to come back doing something that I was always doing, and I only ever incurred one injury doing this over the last 7 or 8 years. And it actually was on that leg press machine that you just seen there a few moments ago. I came back after a bit of a hiatus, and I thought I could lift the same weights as I could before, of which I could, I was right, but my spine wasn't used to the compression forces that the foot pad and the back pad make on the spine. And I got out of it that day. I had PT that evening, and I nearly dropped to the ground with weakness, and my lower back just gave out. So I was stiff for about 2 weeks, and then after that then I learned my lesson. Always warm up, never think you can keep doing what you did on the previous time you were training, and train safely and properly, like I always tell you guys. So thanks for tuning in. My next video will be the upper day of this program, and then I have other videos in mind, maybe to do a how I meal prep my 25 meals on a Sunday morning in less than 2 hours. Thank you.